Hello and welcome to Favorite Rugby on Fair Sport. And some breaking news. Ireland have named their 42-player summer training squad, which one imagines it will be the main squad that they will then choose, their final World Cup squad. And some pretty big news. Johnny Sexton has been included in the squad. It'll be interesting to see how big of a role he will play in this training, whether it's a case of just keeping him around, keeping him aligned, keep within the setup, or whether he's actually starting to get back to, sort of getting back to training and getting to running and stuff like that. So we're not entirely sure what the situation with him is, but he has been named in the squad. And a couple of new call-ups. Kieran Frawley getting a call-up, and I think that's completely deserved. I spoke about it on Twitter. And I talked about the fact that he's kind of coming quite late into form and stuff like that, but he's been growing. And for someone who is so young, has got a lot of potential ahead of him. So really excited to see what he's going to do in an Ireland jersey. Apart from that, a couple of other newbies involved in the squad as well. And so we're going to go through. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about some unlucky exclusion and stuff like that as well. So let's go through it, shall we? The new faces, uncapped players, are Kieran Frawley, Jamie Osborne, Calvin Nash, also a big fan of him, and Tom Stewart, the Ulster hooker. But let's have a look at the squad, shall we? This is the squad that has been named. Okay, so let's go through it, shall we? So we start with the backs, we'll go left to right. Bundy Aki, Callum Blade, Ross Byrne, Craig Casey, Jack Crowley. I think he's got a big future ahead of him. I think that he's someone who's really going to push, the likes of Ross Byrne, and any other sort of fly half in the next couple of years once Sexton does move over. Keith Earls getting included as well. Kieran Frawley there, Jamison Gibson Park, Mac Hansen, Robbie Henshaw, Hugo Keenan, James Lowe, Stuart McCloskey, who had a brilliant 6-day stint as and then Conor Murray, Calvin Nash, Jimmy O'Brien, Jamie Osborne, Gary Ringrose, Jonathan Sexton, Jacob Stockdale. It's a very good squad, or very good backline players there. And if you look at the forwards, Ryan Bard, Finland Beelum, Ty Meyer, Jack Gonan, Gavin Coombs, Kellen Doris, Ty Furlong, Kian Healy, Ian Henderson, Rob Herring, Ronan Kelleher, Dave Kilcoyne, Joe McCarthy, Peter O'Mahony, Tom O'Toole, Andrew Porter, Kian Prendergast. Very big fan of him as well. I think that he's also got somebody with a very, very bright future. James Ryan, Dan Sheehan, Tom Stewart, uncapped, Kieran Treadwell, and Josh van der Fleer. So there's a little bit of no one's outrage, but a little bit of people coming out and saying, where's Hugh and where is this, and a lot of it sort of seems to be quite aligned to the Munster sort of Munster players who didn't make it, who were part of that final, like a John Hodnett, for example, who was the man of the match in that final. A lot of people talking about Jean Klein and saying that that if he should really be included in the squad and they should look to bring him up. So it's interesting because you're never going to be completely happy with the squad, are you? But at the end of the day, I look at the squad and I just don't really see any weaknesses. It's a very good squad. It's a very good mix of players. Interesting if we look at sort of the teams. If you get to count them up, we get this count Leinster 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 in the forwards. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So yeah, 21 of the 42. So literally half the squad coming from Leinster, and then everybody else coming from Ulster, Munster, and Connacht. So yeah, it's good. It's a good squad, and players who I think are, for me, could be really sort of pushing. Certain players. I'm very keen to see what the inside centre battle is going to be like. You've got Robbie Henshaw involved. You've got Bundy Aki. Stuart McCloskey's been brilliant form. I think the scrum half, for example, is going to be very interesting. I'm a big Craig Casey fan, although Conor Murray was absolutely brilliant in that final. And then Jamison Gibson Park is the incumbent scrum half. So I think very interesting to see sort of how they balance the scrum halves there. In terms of if Johnny Sexton is not available, who are your flower options? Are you going to go Jack Crowley? Are you going to go Ross Byrne? Where are you going to move over there? How do you find a loose trio that and how do you sort of get the balance right? Because Gavin Coombs been in really good form. Jack Conan's been brilliant in the last couple of weeks, and yet the incumbent is your sort of Peter O'Mahony, Josh van der Fleer, and I've gone blank. Who am I looking for here? And Ken Doris, obviously, who's sort of in the usual three. And then Tyke Byrne, is he moving into lock? Is he into the Chur, for example? James Ryan's been in brilliant form, but I'm a big fan of I think Kieran Treadwell, when he's playing really well, it adds a lot. So it's a lot of discussions, a lot of calls to make for Andy Farrell. But it's a very strong squad. And in terms of when they'll be in action, they'll be start their sort of preparations in August. They play against Italy, then in England, and then Samoa. 2 matches at the Aviva Stadium, and then 1 in France. It will be their final game against Samoa on the 26th of August before they start their Rugby World campaign against Romania. They then play Tonga, then South Africa, then Scotland. So they do have the 2 hardest games for the last 2. So they've got an opportunity to try and get going. But you almost want a pretty tough game first up. Because to be honest, Ireland versus Scotland, I don't see them having issues, obviously, with Romania and Tonga. But you need to play your stronger sides in those 2 latter stage games. And then you have to play your stronger side throughout quarterfinals, semifinals, finals. But not the best draw for them, but certainly do expect them to go all the way. They are going in as one of the top 3 favorites, in my opinion. So the question is, can they do it? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Smash like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steven, and I'll chat to you soon.